A chance to get to know each other probably in just the past week. I've known him through his restaurants for a long time, so thank you for some fabulous meals.
Oh, thank you.
And our hope today is what we can really do is peer inside the brain and the emotion of one of the food leaders that we have in the restaurant business in this nation. What Rick has been able to do has been extraordinary. And it's not just about having a cool restaurant and being on TV and winning more awards than anybody else I think has ever won for, I don't even know what half the awards are. Never even heard of them
I just
before.
made them up.
No, I don't think so. But the interesting thing is, you know, Rick's background has led him to a different way of looking at culinary that we can all appreciate every time we go to one of his restaurants. So his doctoral work was in anthropological logistics, which again, I didn't even know existed. He spent 6 years in Mexico, living in Mexico to really craft that. He grew up in Oklahoma, obviously a border state, so he really knows Mexican cuisine much more than most of us. So I want to start off with a question that puts you on a spot that gets all of us thinking. And it's, when you look at food in your restaurants and your patrons, what's the most important thing? One thing.
From the perspective of food?
From Rick Bayless' perspective.
Okay, so it's very clear because we talk about this all the time. We want there to be something in every dish that seduces you. Okay, just plain and simple. We want there to be a flavor that makes you go, oh, or a flavor that makes you go, wow, or a flavor that makes you remember something else from your past, hopefully a positive memory. We want you to connect to the food in an emotional way. Because once you have connected to the food in an emotional way, not just a mental one, then you have the opportunity to think about what we are about as a restaurant. You can connect to us more fully, and we have the opportunity to have a conversation with you that's unlike the conversation that we would have if we come to the table and say, "Everything okay?" And you go, "Yeah." And that's a sort of mental thing. That's where you're just using your brain to say, yeah, nothing's burnt, nothing's spoiled. I guess there's enough salt in it. So I guess it's all okay. And then I'm going to leave here and I'm not going to be hungry for another few hours. That's not the way we want you to connect with our food.
So I heard everything that you said. This is not easy. I mean, what's easy is just putting out food that's good, at a good price, but making this whole holistic experience is a lot tougher.
Okay, so this is the deal, that when we work with food, we are cooking, we have to satisfy ourselves as chefs. And so often, people in the restaurant business, people in any kind of food service are thinking about not wanting to offend anyone. That's sort of the first things on the mind. It's like, oh, well, somebody might think that this is too salty, or this is too spicy, or this is too acidic. So let's just bring all of that back. And what we end up with is the blandest, most uninteresting food. I always say, if somebody doesn't dislike some of my food, I'm not doing a good job. Okay, because I have to put food out that people can connect with. And if it's all right middle ground, then no one will connect with it at all. No one. Okay, so a good case in point is when we went to the airport, and this was a long-term project. I know that people have no idea what the back end of that whole project was, but for 2 full years, the city of Chicago came to us and said that they wanted us to be at the airport, that they had to do something to upgrade the food service, which I agreed with, but I wasn't sure I wanted to be the guinea pig in that whole project. And so it's run by HMS Host. Almost everything out there is run by HMS Host. And I said, no, I don't think I can make my food at the airport because my food has a lot to do with the supply chain. and that supply chain is not out at the airport. And to get it into the airport, I wasn't sure that we had the opportunity to do that. So I kept saying no to the city. I wasn't interested in the project. And finally, they said, no, we're going to get you out there. What will it take? And they called a meeting with Host and the city and our team. And they said, what would it take? And I said that, number one, we can make our food. Nobody's going to mess with the menu. And number two, that we are going to be able to use our products. So, of course, the city turned to HMS Host and said, you heard him. We want him out there, so you got to make it happen. So that was another 6 or 8 months to figure out how to make all of that happen. And then we got down to the tastings, and so it's like, okay, this is going to be our menu. And the host people, of course, are like, no, we don't do food like that out here. This is the airport. We don't want anything aromatic. We don't want anything spicy. It's all got to be kind of like this in the flavor. And I was like, well, that's not my food at all. I said, I'm sorry, they wanted our food at the airport, so we are going to give you our food. And they said, 3 months, we'll give you 3 months and you'll be out. Well, it's been the most successful thing, certainly at O'Hare, but you can pick up any of the listings of the best airport food in the country. Even internationally, we won a top prize in an international competition for airport food. But because we're not compromising anything.